Hey everybody, it's Chad with Nobody Else's Auto. Definitely not one of the easier videos I've ever had to do. Now a lot of you guys know when I'd go out on the road, I'd always try to shoot content wherever I was at. Salvage yards, car shows, swap meets, auctions. Always tried to share that stuff with you. But one place I always stopped at was a good buddy of mine's place. We brought you a lot of videos from here over the last few years. And he's got a lot of neat stuff. A lot of it's rough, a lot of it's been picked. But that's because he's been here since the early 60s. Unfortunately, a couple weeks ago, we lost my good friend Frank. So I was back through the area, and there's definitely a different vibe here. Frank was a great guy. I knew him for almost 30 years. He was almost 90 years old. That's why he wasn't open to the public anymore. He just couldn't get out here and do it anymore. Frank was a proud U.S. Army veteran. He was in the Army in the late 50s, and obviously based on what you guys have seen from when I've been here, shocking to no one probably, he was in the motor pool. After he was discharged from the U.S. Army, he started his salvage yard because he loved cars. He loved cars, he loved trucks, he loved racing, and those were his passions, and that's what he followed. Great family man. He's got a great family. I've come to know most of them, and they're great people. Working on plans now for what to do with things, but it'll all get figured out in time. The last several years when I was here, Frank always hung out in this gray Ford, and that was kind of his office the last several years. He'd meet me down here, even though he wasn't open. He'd meet me here and let me in, let me get parts. And he'd crawl up in his truck with his paper and his cup of coffee. Whenever I'd get done, he'd look it over, and he'd always tell me, "I don't want you getting rich off me, but you need to make enough money to come back and buy some more." So I always promised him I would. So unfortunately, we don't have Frank with us anymore. Life changes. It's a big circle. We can't stop change, and it's going to happen. So hate to have to report that, but like I said, fortunately I still know the family. They're great people, and we've got some good things going here. Still was able to get in and get some pieces, and but definitely a little bit different vibe without Frank here. So, but one thing I do know about Frank is he wouldn't want us to just stand here and talk about him all day. He would want to see some more cars and trucks. So let's go check out a few more out of our good friend Frank's collection. We miss you, buddy. Well, like we said, we know Frank wouldn't want to just talk about him. He'd want to see cars. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to share some cars with you out of his collection. Like I said, it's a little bit different vibe out here today, but we can't control that. So we're going to make the best of it and honor our good friend Frank by sharing some of his cool stuff with you, the stuff he saved, like the 70 Catalina wagon. Frank saved a lot of good stuff over the years, a lot of station wagons, a lot of cool stuff like that years ago people didn't pay that much of attention to, but fortunately Frank saved a lot of this stuff. Big old Cadillac sedan DeVille. Check out the nose on this thing. This thing's a beast. It's kind of a funky little car. Rambler 770. And it's a little two-door post. That's kind of cool. Check out the old two-door Catalina. Now, one interesting thing about this, we know this car is a 71. How do we know that? The louvers on the trunk lid. 1971 only. The only year GM used that. They did use it across the lines, but the only year that they did use those trunk vents. Another big old caddy hiding back here in the trees. Can't even hardly get around to see that one. Ford pickup. This would have been a sharp old Ford pickup in its day. Two-tone green and white, the wide side moldings. Pretty sharp old truck in its day. Now check this thing out. No, this actually is not a Nova. Sure looks like a Nova, but it is not a Nova. Take a peek inside there, we see the Pontiac head. The Pontiac Arrow, this was a Ventura. Same body as the Nova, just the Pontiac version of it. Big old Mercury, man, that's a big Mercury too. Somebody had this thing up in the air, getting some parts out from underneath it. Fairlane 63, Ford Fairlane, I believe. 2 or 3. Check out the funky little VW. Pontiac Grandville. Another big old 70s Pontiac. Pintos. Even a Pinto wagon. Check this thing out. Wood grain, luggage rack. Oh yeah, big styling in that Pinto wagon. And a little Pinto runabout. How about an AMC Hornet? This thing was crunched a long time ago. Check out that tree, grew up right around the side of the car. This thing got wadded up, tucked in here a long, long time ago. I wonder if that'll come over there. Oh, that's an actual metal one, I think. Buried in the weeds. Along with a couple of Mavericks, I believe. Let's catch one more big old Buick. Then we're going to wrap up this section of the tour. Big old deuce and a quarter, 1970 Buick Electra. Big old 4-door hardtop. I've always loved these cars. Always been a kind of a favorite of mine. This one got crunched over here in the left front corner years ago and tucked back in here in the corner. Well, there you go, everybody. Definitely one of the sadder videos I've ever had to do. Definitely miss my friend Frank. He was a great guy. Like I said, I knew him a long, long time, and him and I got along great. Fortunately, I've come to know most of his family as well, and they're all great people, and I can't thank them enough for allowing me to continue to come by here and share some of this stuff with you guys. So, rest in peace, Frank. It was great knowing you, and thanks for everything you did and everything you saved for all of us in the car hobby.